Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of GnWC Weekly. I'm the Duke, and I'm joined by my good buddy,
Lorenzo Ball's dad.
Lorenzo. Who?
Ball. He's a college basketball player. And his dad's been running his mouth.
Oh, yeah, I actually saw him and Stephen A. Smith going after each other today.
Stephen A. Smith, let me tell you something about the Knicks.
Yeah, I just saw sort of a recap of it, and
Stephen A.
I didn't
Smith.
really know
That's
what was
like
going on. They were just both screaming at each other, kind of like we do.
That's when you know the TV is on at work on ESPN all day.
Yes,
Because you have somebody leading a sentence with, "I saw a Stephen A. Smith." Well, okay, well your TV at work must have been on ESPN all day because no one rightful person watches that stuff unless it's on a loop.
Yeah, well, and that's what's funny is we have guys. So this sounds like we're super spoiled, and I guess we are, but we have guys that have TVs in their offices, like the accounting guys, which is weird because we're not the ones who actually make the money for the company. But anyway, so I'll go in and they'll like just start staring at the TV while we're like trying to solve something, and so I'll just be like, okay, I guess I'll stare at the TV too. It's like, since we're not going to do any work at the moment, let me stare at the TV with you. So,
yeah, I used to do a lot of video editing, and one of the team, like we had so many, they had a TV in the video editing studio. So I used to put up Game Show Network back when Game Show Network was a thing, with like real game shows instead of like, new episodes of Family Feud followed by original programming that aren't game shows. And old Wheel of Fortune, old Jeopardy, stuff like that. I used to have that on all day, just help pass the time. And then one day, the lady I worked for was like, "How could you even watch TV when you're supposed to be doing this stuff?" She was in a nasty mood. I'm like, okay, that's not fun. So, good story, right?
cool story, bro. You
Yeah,
should tell
no.
it at parties. No, I'm sorry, I got distracted by something.
Well, let's get into the action. I mean, there's not a lot of major news and notes this week, and please fill in the gaps if I missed anything major. But the big story, I guess, that's going on right now is we're gonna cover that later. It's the rumors that WWE is buying Ring of Honor. So right after we do our weekly recap, we'll discuss that for a little while. And if anybody has any comments on that, please feel free to leave them in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or just shout it out in chat if you're watching on Twitch. One of the other top stories of the week has been the absence of Mauro Ranallo, and it seems like it's a kind of an like an illness, like a depression type thing, and he's on like a little bit of a leave of absence, and even going as so far as quoting doctors recommending he stays off of social media and stuff like that. And as somebody with depression, I know how bad it could be, but imagine if you in like the spotlight on a TV show that was watched by, let's say, roughly 2 million people a week, and you had followers on social media, just the worst of the worst people on the internet. I mean, there's good people as well, but the worst of the worst in there. What does Jim Ross call them? The keyboard warriors that just
Keyboard warriors is what a lot of people say. Yep.
Yeah, sit behind their keyboard and just like without identity.
I just don't say that word.
I can't even say it. I thought I could say it, but I can't say it.
Yeah, then you start seeing all the M's and N's, and you're like, wait a second, I don't know how to pronounce this anymore.
Anonymity. Without a name attached to them or a real name. Just making their comments, and you can't imagine how it. And like, let's from Mauro Ranallo to Kim Kardashian, and not comparing the fame of the two, but like throw in the people you hate and throw in the people you love that are in such a spotlight, and just imagine that how many of these hate messages get to these people. And I'm not saying that that's the reason Mauro Ranallo's in his funk, because depression is chemically, it just comes and goes. But imagine adding that on top of everything else, and then somebody finding out that you missed the show because of depression, and then just like giving it to you because of that.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's just like, wow. It's like sometimes you like, all right, celebrities have it easy, and then you get stories like this fan got attacked by this celebrity in some place because he wouldn't give him an autograph, and it's like, well, I mean, they can't really live a life, and every 2 seconds they have something shoved in their face to sign, or somebody on Twitter like making a nasty comment about them, or heaven forbid their family. It's like, well, I mean, that could, like, if you have depression symptoms, that on top of that, could be pretty bad. And I remember when Mauro Ranallo missed the first show, and it was like David Otunga was at filming a movie, and Mauro Ranallo was couldn't make it because of the weather. Like Taz and Josh Matthews piled on top of him. Like, I remember in a blizzard packing into a car with coal and stuff like that. It's like, it's unexcusable. It's like, well, listen, why don't you relax, buddy? Now you know that it wasn't that. That was the reasoning for it. Like, do you feel like an idiot now? Are you gonna pull back and apologize?
Well, I mean, they're both notorious for being just complete jerks. So
I actually have a Josh.
They're just going to keep it going, I guess.
I have a Josh Matthews story, and I don't know if they've apologized since, or maybe they even contacted him privately. You never know.
You shouldn't put yourself in a position where you have to apologize all the time, like they do. So yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and bring us up to speed on Raw here? What are some of the things you liked or disliked about Raw in general?
I like Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and I really liked Samoa Joe. I like how Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens are involved with each other to an extent, but not really. Like they're sort of they're helping each other, but it's not like this buddy. It's like true nasty heel type relationship where they just kind of they kind of show up and help each other getting people's way and cause destruction. I dig that. We haven't really seen that in a while, honestly, where it's just two really dominant heels who are being as nasty as possible, and they cross paths from time to time, and that they have it's like they have the same motivations, but it's not like let's create a tag team or whatever. So they're still their own guys. That's what I like probably the most about Raw this week was their interaction, and then Jericho's interaction, and the fact that Jericho, I mean, he's the biggest babyface on the roster without trying to be, really. I mean, he was trying to be a heel, and everything just got over. And so they exaggerated it, and it made him the biggest babyface on the roster. And there's no one like Sami Zayn is a distant second, and he's a significant second. But then after that, there's nobody. Like there's just nobody, and it's cool.
There's nobody that should be.
Huh?
There's nobody that should be, because there's a lot of heels that will get a good reaction over all the other quote-unquote good guys left on the roster. So It's not out of the realm of possibility that Jericho is your top babyface, Sami Zayn is a good crowd favorite, and then number 3 is like Kevin Owens. In terms of,
I know, but it's one of those things. It's like, it's cool and it's almost a little sad at the same time, because you're only like really, really massively over babyface, like someone that you can really stamp. This guy's a babyface. The only guy on Raw is Jericho, and well, I mean, again, it's two guys. It's Jericho and Sami Zayn, but Jericho is just
Rollins can be in the mix as well, but it's he's been off TV, so
he's still not there yet. Like he actually had like I said a few weeks ago, the promo with Hunter where he got in Hunter's face, and then it's weird because that was like his turn moment for me, where he's like, okay, he's the baby face. But then last week with him getting beat down and him sort of, having the cool moment where he throws down the crutch or whatever and gets in the ring, that was cool. But then the beat down, it didn't necessarily garner sympathy to me. Like I don't know.
No, fans were kind of into it because it's Hunter, and Hunter is Attitude Era, and
yeah, exactly. And
cool.
That's never really going to garner the sympathy that they think it is. It seems. I mean, Roman, it was even worse, obviously.
I think there's very few Attitude Era guys you can come in and have them beat up a new era guy and then have the fans being sympathetic for the new era guy, no
Exactly.
matter who it is.
Exactly. And so it's that beatdown was almost like, after the great promo previously, that beatdown was almost a slight step backward, like a half step backward for Rollins in being, you know, a really strong babyface guy. So it's really, I don't know, it's cool, and I hate to overanalyze it like this because I definitely am, but this is why I've removed myself from any sort of wrestling, anything outside of actually watching the shows, because I do enjoy watching the shows, even though it may not sound like it because I do hyperanalyze it, but that's just kind of my nature. But it's when we sit down to talk about it, I can't help but realize, man, there's who, like, Jericho's done after WrestleMania, most likely. He's going on tour with Fozzy. So
1 month.
Sure. But I mean, who's there? Who fills that void?
AJ Styles.
Yeah, and see, you said that last week during the show, and that, I got to be honest. All right, I'm coming clean here. That sort of pissed me off, Larry, because I'm staying away from rumors, and I had no clue of that until you said it in chat last week. And so,
yeah, I mean, you know,
now that, see, again, because I hyperanalyze everything.
There's 100% correct spoilers, and then there's there's this situation that may happen, and we can't really avoid talking about stuff like that.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but I didn't. And
it's not confirmed, because there's also rumors that AJ Styles is fighting SmackDown people listed on cards thereafter WrestleMania. And there's a rumor of his opponent for SummerSlam. There's both sides of it as well.
Yeah. But I say all that to say the biggest heel of the week, outside of in sports and entertainment, in my opinion, outside of Josh Matthews and Taz, I would say the biggest heel of the week was Christy Yamaguchi. Wishing Nancy Kerrigan to break a leg on Dancing with the Stars.
She retracted that and said it was...
I know, and everybody's dogpiling on it, but most people the initial response...
If it was Tanya Harding telling her to break a leg, then I can
awful.
Yeah, I can understand people going nuts over that.
But the initial response from people, though, was pretty funny, because most of it was just like, you don't realize what you just said, right? Like, you don't really... Like, seriously, you think about what about what you just said.
Well, and it's also
that was sort of the reaction gift,
right? And Nancy Kerrigan didn't break her leg.
Yeah, right.
She just got hit in the leg and got it was a bad bruise or whatever the case may be. So I mean, like, I'm not going to say mountain out of a molehill, because you said break your leg, to somebody who got attacked like that, but like, it's like worse things.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, it was. A lot of people were just like, you should probably delete that. You didn't really think before you said that.
Yeah.
But it was, and then of course the outrage mongers of Twitter and and social media.
And those are the same people who say you should delete that. They're the same group. They're the draw attention to the fact or repost it on Reddit kind of people.
I totally screenshotted it and said, screenshot of what could be a celeb's last tweet. Don't get me wrong, because I thought it was like hilariously tone deaf, but at the same time, I don't know. I thought it was funny to sort of be on the front end of one of those things for the first time in maybe years. So I just happened to catch it right when it happened, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty funny, but. Don't get me wrong. I contributed to the problem. I'll be honest, full disclosure, but yes, it was an innocent comment. So
yeah.
That's a show business term and has been for decades.
Yeah, you're not going to change it because the person got hit in the leg.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And it might have been on the furthest thing from her mind, because that was so long ago, and they might be way past that by now. But back on Raw, I mean, another thing that's happening on Raw, and we've said this before in the past, it's just like, the women's division has no sense of I don't know, interest for me, because you
It
finally
has
get
no soul.
you finally
It's
got the Dana
without a
Brooke
soul.
Charlotte Flair breakup, and then like there's like just a one blow off match that ends it on the next week's show, and on the same show
And it was an awful match too. I
another
mean, it was
person
not
gets
good.
involved in the WrestleMania match, as basically we thought. Now making it a four-persons women match to counteract the SmackDown's five women match at
Oh, I
WrestleMania.
can't wait till we get to SmackDown and the women's match. By the way,
Right. So now Nia Jax has interjected herself into that, and I just at this point I don't think anybody else could be put in there unless they want to throw Dana Brooke in there and as well, and just have both women's matches be every woman on the roster kind of thing, and just put Alicia Fox in an outfit, and then just really just put everybody on the roster on a spot at WrestleMania, which is kind of bad. But again, it's kind of like, well, if all these part timers are taking up the big spot,
yeah.
then what are they going to have?
It's a what else are they going to do situation.
What else are they going to do, or what's going to happen in May when all these people aren't there? And now you got to put these guys back on TV. You'd be like, oh, wrestling sucks now. Wrestling went downhill since last month. Well, obviously, because we're putting all these part timers on TV and then all of a sudden putting them in the big spots. And then the next month, no main eventers are there anymore. So, according to your biggest show of the year, and
right,
that's why WrestleMania is not one of my favorite events. But
well,
the Raw after WrestleMania is, because that's when they start making new stuff happen.
Well, and thinking of like the casual fan, which is what WrestleMania is supposed to draw, right? It's supposed to draw more people, more eyes, because you bring in bands and pop culture people and stuff like that. You connect all these dots to get more people to watch, and you do a lot of good in the city you're in, don't get me wrong, but you're doing all these things to get people watching wrestling and WWE who wouldn't necessarily normally watch. But then, to your point, Larry, the week after or the day after at Raw, a quarter of the people that everyone came to see aren't on the show and may never be on the show again
until next February.
or like Goldberg, he may like WrestleMania could very well be it. Like we may, it could very well be it. Sorry, I just had to go back to that. But
and if not, SummerSlam could be it.
Yeah, but it's like he's not going to be on TV, and he's not. At least I don't think. And maybe the only other time we see him is at a Hall of Fame ceremony. And I mean, so how does that actually attract? And I'm not dogging on Goldberg. I like what they did. I don't necessarily like the Universal Championship thing, but I mean, I don't necessarily like the Universal Championship. So, anyway, I'm not dogging him, but the whole mindset of let's get all these random people to come in and all these high end matches with people who aren't going to be on the product. Like TV is the only place they really make money. So how are they helping themselves by just dogpiling and just loading up WrestleMania to get a bunch of eyes to watch, and then the next day there's NXT call-ups who people like us are excited about, or there's random people from other places who show up, which again, people like us, we're excited about. But the casual fan, they want to keep watching. It's like, well, where's Goldberg? Where's Brock Lesnar? Where's all these guys that I watched WrestleMania for? Oh, they're not on TV, but I mean, like they show up maybe once every 2 months. Well, why would I watch this? Exactly. Anyway, there's my rant of the week. That should be a segment.
I also don't understand
the week. Yeah.
Nice. I also don't understand the Samoa Joe, Sami Zayn stuff, because now you have Joe going over on Sami twice, and like, okay, if they're gonna have another blow-off match at WrestleMania, well, isn't this the Sami Zayn versus anybody story? Like, can we do something new with him? Can we do something exciting? Can we take all the wrestlers, if you want to make all these multi-man matches, can we do something more exciting with it? Like, there's no title that's even available for them to compete for because it's tied up with Goldberg and Jericho in their feuds, and that's fine. It's good, and it kind of works. But that's why you need the secondary title around for these guys, so that when they have this blow off match at WrestleMania, their WrestleMania, they can make a WrestleMania moment out of it, and then talk about it and highlight it in videos for years to come. Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn. Well, Joe beat Zayn twice already. And now if they wrestle at WrestleMania, well, okay, I've already seen the match twice. It's not a special WrestleMania match at this point. And that goes against something we haven't really made a point to rant about more recently. It's just that
But it's a common rant.
Yeah, it's any feud you have, they try to find a way to put them in all these matches first. And then like Cesaro, Sheamus, the Club, and Enzo and Cass. Like, how many different ways can we do this? And spin it so that we always have these teams competing against each other before the match where they compete against each other. Well,
is it the 3 hours? Is it the 3 hour format that causes this? I was just thinking about it while you were talking about it, and I'm like, man, they don't do that on NXT. They don't do that on freaking 205 Live.
Next week it's Ciampa versus Akam versus in the last few weeks it's always been Revival versus DIY versus, and not necessarily in individual matches or tag team matches, but they're always finding a way to each other. And
that's fair enough. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, in the titles, you don't have like the matches that, let's be honest, the matches that matter, the title matches. Well, I mean, that's the tag titles. So
the singles titles.
Singles titles.
The singles titles. Well, they haven't had a champion that works every television show in the longest time. Like, Joe never worked every week for TV, or never taped every week for TV. Nakamura never did. Finn Balor didn't do it. Asuka doesn't do it. Bayley might have done it, or at least was visible every week. But they've done a good job taking those people off of TV to make those big matches, even if they're rematches like Nakamura Joe, Nakamura Rude, make them matter. It's also a 1 hour format. It's also, quote unquote,
that's what
developmental.
I was getting at, though. Is it the 1 hour? Is it the 1 hour format that makes it where you can pull that off?
No, because where's Titus O'Neil? Where's Bo Dallas? Where's Curtis Axel?
No, I know.
And there's all these guys you can mix into it to still make a 3 hour show relevant and fresh and exciting, and not see the same people every week. But they just don't do it.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is their mentality that what's a 3 hour show and we have to have this guy and we have to have this guy and we have to have this guy. So let's just put them all in matches together. And then next week we'll find a convoluted way to put them in the same match again. And then next week,
I think it's but I think it's just a booking wrestling kind of template. That's just like, all right, well, to enhance the rivalry, you need these people to be face to face, week to week, so that people get the sense that, these guys hate each other. These guys.
I guess where I was really headed, I said NXT, and then I said I was going to say 205 Live. Sorry to interrupt, but I was going to say 205 Live, and how intrigued and invested I am in Austin Aries versus Neville. Because they kept them apart as long as possible, and we're it was 4 weeks out from WrestleMania, where their match is going to happen, and then the build happens, and they haven't fought yet. That's fantastic. Why can't every feud be like that?
It's still the same thing. They're still in every segment every week on 2 different shows,
but they're not in a match.
No, but Gallagher and,
to me, that's the problem.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right, they haven't been in a match. Weren't they in a mixed tag match? Not a mixed tag match, but weren't they in a tag match? Wasn't it Austin and somebody and Neville and Nice?
I don't. Maybe. I don't think so.
All right,
have they had time?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been 8 shows, 4 weeks, kind of. Well, maybe not. Maybe Raw.
Like Raw.
Yeah, it might have been Raw last week.
Yeah,
maybe not. It could not. Maybe not have been. It might have been something else. But
still, it's not the same match we're going to see at – I'm going to backpedal until I'm right. But it's not Sami Zayn versus it's not, to your point, it's not Sami Zayn versus Samoa Joe the third time on main roster, not counting the fact that they had a knockdown drag out on, or multiple knockdown dragouts on NXT, which that was good.
Right.
But now it's sort of underdeveloped, and here they are. They're fighting. They're
here's another problem when it comes to this, and it's I sometimes I argue
we're spending too much time on Raw, by the way.
Well, that's fine because we have things to say. It's not that, and I finally want to say something. It's not that, it's a WWE's fault because things happen. I mean, how many times did Owen and Zayn fight? Well, it works because they have chemistry. They know each other. A lot of these guys work together way before NXT, WWE. But it's also, like, contrary to that, is if you are a big NXT fan and you're watching feuds there, it's almost like, well, that feud gets carbon copied onto the main roster. When the feud gets carbon copied on the main roster, you're just like, oh, this again? I've watched these guys fight 17 times. And WWE's mentality is, let's ignore how many times Sasha fought Charlotte in NXT, or Becky's fought Sasha, or Bayley's fought Charlotte. Let's ignore all of that and let's only talk about the main roster. But if anybody's a fan of these wrestlers, well, it's like, well, I watched these people fight 7 times down there in 3 years, and now I'm watching them fight 5 times in 7 months here. It's like, well,
5 times in 7 months, more like 5 times in 7 weeks.
Yeah, well, that's true too. It's like, well, enough is enough, and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, and you're right, and it's funny because that's what makes them stars before they actually get on the main roster, and that's why they're on the main roster, is because they've had those awesome matches. And why not? With the women, there's an answer to this question, but with the men, there's not an answer to this question. Why not keep them apart? Why not have them looking at each other from afar and like, but when I get back to you, we're going to just burn everything to the ground. Like, why not just build that tension? And they were kind of doing that with Zayn and Owens for a while, but then they'll just randomly throw them in a match
randomly.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, we've already had the last pay-per-view match there, the feud settled. This week on Raw, I'm going to put you against Sami Zayn. Well, okay. Well, again,
why?
We've already done this. It's not like we can never fight each other anymore. It was in their contract stipulation, but we've already done this. And if you want to put these guys together, and this is Raw's biggest problem, or just Raw in general, is like they have all this additional supportive talent on the roster that they don't really do anything with. And when they do something with, like, a squash match, it's always, Nia Jax versus local competitor, Braun Strowman versus local competitor. Well, why can't it be Braun Strowman versus Curtis Axel? Or just
Yeah, I was just thinking of him today, how he just hasn't been on TV.
Yeah, you just got to mix all these guys in to keep it fresh, and then if you want to have the run down or stare down at the end of the match, then whatever. But
and what's funny is, I think someone would say, and I know we need to get off this, so we'll move on right after this, or you can say something, whatever. I think someone would say, well, but then that hurts that other guy. Well, what hurts him more, not being on TV or being on TV?
There's winners, there's losers. Like, I think these guys are above that. Some people can get over it more than others can, obviously. But, they're paid to do a job. They wrestle. They love to wrestle. They know they have to put each other over. They know they're not going to be undefeated.
Right.
They know there's their time. Sometimes maybe there's nothing creatively for them and they can't, show people anything, and then they get fired based on, like, just nothing for them, and they never had that chance to prove themselves. But it's wrestling. There's been jobbers, not even to say jobbers. They made wrestling, like, jobber free at one point. Every name that was ever signed to a roster had to be of importance. But there has to be losers. So, I mean, if you're putting the same feud people against each other week after week after week before the big event that puts them in the same ring again, well, why can't there be other people involved in the middle to just break up that matchup and then just, have the announcers put over the eventual contest, or do something backstage where somebody attacks somebody, or whatever you have to do. So, basically,
totally.
All right, let's move on to SmackDown here, and it's it's WrestleMania season, so we have to get the tag team titles off of American Alpha and put them on a different team. I mean, I'm just going to say that that's how I feel.
That was extremely surprising to me. By the way, do you not have graphics for this show?
I do. I put them up.
Oh. Well, the screen is not showing me any.
I mean, my preview shows them.
Oh. Have you been in preview? Oh, anyway. Well, I see it now. I just had to refresh. So that was on me.
Well, that's my whole thing. It's nothing against
That's on me.
It's nothing against the Usos. It's just that why does WrestleMania have to have this situation where we got to take the title for Punk and put it on The Rock? We got to take the title for Owens and put it on Goldberg. Now it's like, well, we got to take the title off of American Alpha and put it on the Usos because the Usos are credible. They're multi-time champions. People recognize them. People know them. You know, sons of a Hall of Famer, and American Alpha are the new blood. Okay, there are situations. Alexa Bliss has the title. Bayley has the title. You know, so it's kind of like that situation where WWE doesn't do anything new with their new talent, and you know Seth Rollins cashes in at WrestleMania and wins the title, kind of situation going.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But on a SmackDown before the pay-per-view, there's not even a tag team title match announced. So this is going to be your selling point to create a tag team match. Is
2 weeks before.
2 weeks before Alpha Males lose their title. And then they're going to get a rematch on the pre-show of or are we just going to have a six-pack challenge for the tag team title? That's
yeah, probably.
Yeah. But listen, like, you know, I whine and cry about people that say SmackDown is better than Raw because they book better, they have better things, and in my argument is always, well, it's the same guy on the bottom line that signs off on everything. But just to our point before, John Cena defeated Fandango. Last week, John Cena and Nikki Bella defeated Carmella and James Ellsworth. Isn't this what I was just arguing for Raw to do?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, see, and so it's kind of one of those things. It's like it's the same guy signing it, but it is done very differently. Like it's like, and sometimes it's a little subtle, but like that where it's just like, well, they didn't use local guys, and don't get me wrong. The comedy of it was fantastic, but also just the booking of it is fantastic. Like it was like, why not use these other guys on the roster, especially guys that are pretty over, you know, like Fandango and Breeze are people that, you know, Vince doesn't think it, but you know, if you just played the Fandango song, the whole crowd's going to be fandangoing, and people love Breeze, just maybe not in the ring. They love him on social media.
I'm sorry. If he's dressing up as Nikki Bella, like, I feel like he's won over so many fans right now. And now they have to do...
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, he's a huge draw. He's a huge hit on social media, but now you add, like, an epic comedy spot for him, dressing as freaking, you know, Breezy Bella. I suspect people are going to start chanting, "We want Tyler."
Well, I suspect they're going to have to do this, like, one-upsmanship with Tyler Breeze now, of dressing up as other people.
Keeps doing weird stuff. Yeah,
I think so, and I think it could be kind of cool of him just dressing up as just random people, and again, it's going to be dressing up as random people to mitigate, like, Wrestler A and Wrestler B always being in the ring at the same time when they're going to have a match at a pay-per-view. It's, sure. You know, Fandango is going to fight somebody.
Fine.
Yeah, and the other person's going to mock whoever it may be. I mean, that would be cool if they did do that. And it certainly brings the bottom of the card. Like, it makes a place for people to again, separate the two combatants that are going to be on the pay-per-view. But I was pretty upset. I felt like as soon as the match was announced, I felt like the Usos was going to win because of the overload feeling I have on WrestleMania is, you know, heaven forbid these people have the titles when they go into WrestleMania. You know, we don't do something with that. But, you know, that's just snarky internet wrestling fan in me.
My thought on it was after I was actually a little surprised, and I was really surprised. I'm not even going to try to pretend. But my thought after the fact was, well, maybe something happening elsewhere on the card meant that they need the titles on the Usos for them to lose them at Mania, maybe, or maybe something else happening on the card meant they need the titles on the Usos for them to retain in a really nasty way at Mania. I don't know.
Or to give an American Alpha a real WrestleMania, because American Alpha retaining at
Like
WrestleMania
give
versus
them
American Alpha winning at WrestleMania are two different things. And if they want to always promote the WrestleMania moment, well, then they can always say American Alpha had that WrestleMania moment when they became two-time champions instead of they had the WrestleMania moment when they defended their championship. It's two different things.
Yeah, it is a bigger moment, and a turmoil match. You know, that's sort of goes with their theme this year. You know, the thrill, the ultimate thrill ride.
Was that match announced? Turmoil match, or are you just saying it
no?
is?
I'm just saying it could be a turmoil match, and that would sort of go along with the ultimate thrill ride theme that they're going with at the moment. So
yeah, I suspect. You know, again, I always do this, but I suspect it's going to be a 4-way tag team match, 6-way tag team match, turmoil match.
That's awful. I want turmoil. I like tag team turmoil. I like random people, or like you don't necessarily know who's coming in next. I like that.
If they only wanted the match like 15 minutes on a pre-show, though, tag team turmoil is kind of hard to do. You know what I mean? It's like
it does. Take
I would love. Listen, I'm not saying if it happens, I'd love it. They already have a 3-way match for the tag team titles, the Raw tag team titles. I mean, I don't know. It's so stupid how
I just know they've been doing them at live shows a lot. The turmoil matches for SmackDown. That's sort of that's sort of a bread and butter match for them.
Right. Well, anytime they can get all the tag teams in the ring or all the women in the ring in the same segment, they've seem to really like to do that. So
and the drama of it plays really well too, because you have someone who sticks around after they're eliminated and really beats up on somebody else. So you know, it creates good.
Second to last eliminated always beats up on the person who last eliminated him. So the last person who comes out, quote unquote, has the advantage and then always loses anyway.
Yeah. But it creates good face heel dynamic, which we don't see enough of. So I like it. But
face heel dynamic. What do we think of Orton and Bray Wyatt?
I'm still confused. I don't care. Like I care, and I really hope it's going to be a good match. I really hope it is. But both of these guys somehow end up in lose-lose situations a lot of times. And at the moment, this is still feeling that way. So we'll see.
It's weird because I thought the height of it was them winning the tag team titles, despite, us wanting the American Alpha to win it. I thought that was the height of them. But immediately, and then like the whole bonding over the titles with Harper and Owen, or Harper and Orton. And then, like, immediately going to, like, next week conflict. It's like, well, it's like, why?
They just didn't hang on to any of the emotion of anything.
You'll leave the Miz Ziggler feud running for 7 months, but you won't give the Wyatt family like 3 consecutive weeks without a problem or anything. Once they're on the height of their popularity. Well, I mean, maybe that was
a good point. Good comparison.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little annoying, but then, AJ Styles and Shane McMahon, I mean, Shane did his thing. He jumps from the ring apron, puts AJ through the table, and then you have to talk about how good of a wrestler AJ is, but Shane's a different kind of crazy. And, sell me. Hey, listen, just another guy on a roster, on the card, that's really taking the place on somebody else who needs the spot for them to have meaningful storylines for the next 11 months. And nothing against Shane McMahon. If Shane McMahon was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or if legends come out, part-timers come out during the Battle Royal, or in the Battle Royal, not come out. Like, it's kind of cool and it's awesome and it has its place. But for me, Shane McMahon, and the same thing last year with against The Undertaker, I always felt like somebody current on the roster who's going to be wrestling and selling merchandise and putting fans in the arena, or hopefully putting fans in the arena, because as the business you want that in a wrestler, needs these spots. And how many more tickets or WWE Network subscriptions, and not even WWE Network subscriptions, but WWE Network accounts that are going to get WrestleMania for free, is Shane McMahon wrestling going to actually bring to the table? And I'm not going to say none, because I'm sure some people might have a curiosity about it, but it's not like we're not changing the 1.5 million subscriber mark to like a 1.6.
Well, Shane has that one wild card that the longtime casual wrestling fan is going to gravitate toward. What is it?
Attitude Era?
There you go. So that's why. Which is dumb.
I mean,
because it's dumb.
Listen,
dumb. With him, it's dumb, and with everyone, it's kind of dumb. But because again, you're not making stars today. But whatever. Like, I don't want to get on those rants again. I
disagree with. I bring up a lot where I talk about casual wrestling fan, because we often have family over, and family over when we watch the bigger of the pay-per-views, because they will, the kids want to check it out or whatever, however old they are now.
Sure.
So I always talk about casual wrestling fan and those who were around in the Hogan era and then the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Rock era, and all the comparisons, like, Dean Ambrose, who's this guy? Oh, remember when The Rock and Stone Cold did this? Stuff like that. I gotta say, AJ Styles is a wrestler who's broken the mold in terms of, like, those people, my nephew, my brother, going, wow, this guy is really good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously he's good. We know this. But turning the guy who really only cares to talk about Austin and The Rock and how wrestling hasn't been good since they haven't been around, and then seeing AJ Styles and being like, wow, this guy is pretty good.
That's a big deal. So maybe you do put, Attitude Era Shane in that match so people pay attention, and then they're like, whoa, who is this other guy? Maybe.
You know what? It very well, and maybe I changed my mind. It could work like that, but on the wrestling fan part of me, like, why couldn't AJ Styles be wrestling Samoa Joe?
Sure.
Maybe we'll get that down the line, but, like, as far as WrestleMania, and it doesn't make sense because they're both on different programs, but that's just the mentality I have when I'm seeing.
I know what you're implying.
No, I'm just saying, as of right now, they're on different shows, and it could never have happened. But, that's my mentality, is if we don't have Brock, if we don't have Goldberg, if we don't have, Shane McMahon or The Undertaker or whoever involved in WrestleMania, well, then we might get other matches. Did anybody think that Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3, I think it was?
3,
was going to be as big of a classic match as it was?
No.
I mean, they were both pretty household names because WWE did a good job of marketing the top, 10% of the roster. But, because it was, bottom 90% were all jobbers. But, you need, some sort of magical things to happen like that. And when you're booking it like the way they're booking it, it's kind of hard to do that unless one of the multi-man, multi-female matches becomes like an instant classic. That's it's going to be kind of hard to do, but you have Goldberg, who doesn't wrestle more than a minute match. You have Shane McMahon, who's not really a wrestler. You have Undertaker, who can't really go anymore. And then, you have a lot of people saying, like, oh my God, this pay-per-view was horrible. Well, how could it be horrible? It had all the people you wanted to see on it.
Right.
On the top of the card. So, yeah.
It didn't have Stone Cold.
No, it didn't have Stone Cold. This needed The Rock.
Yeah.
But, all right.
With a flamethrower, of course.
Well, of course.
The ladies. Can we talk about the ladies?
Yeah, Carmella interjected herself in the title picture, even though they said every woman is available on the roster is going to be on the match. They always left her off of the graphic, and now has since put her on the graphic after she made her statement last week. But
sure.
Yeah, what do you want to say about the women?
I just want to throw this out there. Every available woman on the roster, and you threw out maybe that means Asuka. It's Naomi. Naomi will enter the match. Naomi will win the match.
I expected Naomi to come out 2 days ago, because the whole.
I think she's going to come out either the end of the show next week, or she'll come out at WrestleMania,
which would be fine because they
and everybody will be whoa, cool,
right? Because they're putting it on everyone's mind that she's from Orlando, so when people are in Orlando, they can go hometown girl, and if she's able to wrestle, they'll just bring her out and pop the place. But and win, that'd be awesome as well. Kind of puts a little bit at risk that she might actually do something that could hurt again, because she's gotten hurt so many times in the past 2 years, 3 years. So,
well, I guess part of what makes me think, yeah, I get what you're saying. Part of what makes me think that maybe this was sort of orchestrated was the fact that the day she got injured, she was telling everyone she'd be wrestling the next day. Like, it wasn't serious. Like, she was telling everyone publicly that everything was fine. She was already cleared. And then all of a sudden there's this angle that she's injured and has to turn in the title. So
right.
Maybe someone's just like, oh, so all that news about you having to get out of a match or being carted out of a match got around really fast. Let's use it, you know? So, and maybe it's not, maybe, you know, maybe it is an angle that's based on reality, but maybe it's not. Maybe this was just, we're going to take you off TV after you were the, you know, I'm going into Orlando to be the hometown hero, and you're going to go into Orlando and be the hometown. That's what's going to happen.
I never bought into. We talked about this prior to what do you call it? Seth Rollins' injury angle. I never truly bought into that as being he's hurt. Although then you brought up the point, well, yeah, why didn't he work? You know, Royal Rumble, blah blah blah, stuff like that. I never really brought into that he was totally hurt or really hurt or gonna miss WrestleMania, and I certainly never really bought into Naomi being really hurt, but I was hoping it wasn't a situation.
But she has been injured a lot.
No, right? So, she has been injured.
That is valid,
so. Right? I as soon as, and again, I brought up the Asuka stuff, but it is like really apparent that they're leaving, because especially with Carmella as well, they're leaving names off of the match, even though they're saying everyone's involved in the match as well at the same time. So it's like, oh, well, now Carmella's a part of the match. But you already said Carmella's a part of the match. You said
everyone available, or yeah.
So, you know, it'd be really interesting that I would actually love to see is that if somehow John Cena, Nikki Bella, Maurice, Miz opened the show, and Maurice and Nikki Bella were involved in that match as well. Because they never, and JBL's making a big deal about they've never announced what type of match it's going to be. Meaning it's going to be some type of match and not just every woman for herself. So maybe there's where you get the turmoil match.
Yeah, maybe.
And then that's how you have the surprise entrance.
Imagine, you have the grand entrance of Naomi at the end where it's just like, there's no, you know, JBL screaming, there's nobody left. Alexa Bliss is the champion. She's retained. She's the greatest SmackDown championship. Well, he probably would say that because they all make that same
Actually, I would like it if Carmella won. It was clear Carmella won, and JBL would just be like, I got an alien who's dating a champion, you know, whatever.
And
a turtle without a shell.
And then the lights go out and the music starts. And the whole, and like, it would be party central. Like,
and it's funny because that works.
I really see that really, really pop in the crowd big time.
That works with Nikki. It works with Naomi. It works with Asuka. It could work with Maurice, but then you have to you know, follow it with a Nikki or with a, you know, somebody else after that as well. Like, you can really do like 3 people in a row just when you think it's over, it's not over kind of thing, and that'd be absolutely awesome because they don't really do things like that. It would be nice if they would, but then we're talking about a ladies match, and they don't want people to expend that much emotion on a ladies match. And we may not even be on the main show, and it may still be daylight outside, and we may never may not even have pyro for it and stuff.
Holy
like that.
Crap! Can you imagine though that everything goes dark and then her music starts? That could be a.
Well, if you have Naomi come out,
WrestleMania moments, that's a big one.
If Naomi is coming out and going to be a surprise, that match has to take place after dark because you have to do her dance. Like, you have to have her.
It's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be pitch black.
Where is it? It's in the something bowl.
Citrus Bowl,
and that's outdoor, right?
Citrus Bowl.
It's absolutely outdoors.
Yep.
All right, let's move on over to NXT real quick. And hey, speaking of women, add this name to the list. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Diamante.
Add
her to the list. I think it's Mia Rose, or as she was called on NXT TV, Priscilla Zuniga.
Yeah.
She is now on the list of people who have appeared on TNA, Impact Wrestling, or Impact Wrestling, and NXT WWE programming in the same week.
There you go.
Because she is a member of LAX on Impact Wrestling, and she got the snot beat out of her by Asuka Wednesday on TV.
Yeah, that was thorough. That was thorough.
Right from the opening kick, it was like, whoa.
That was just. We're like, it's like they said, no, we're going to have her destroy you. Are you cool with that? Yeah, sure. Just put me on TV. I'm good.
It's funny because talking with a few wrestlers in my lifetime about like having opportunities, and especially WWE, when they were at MSG or Nassau Coliseum, and they would call on the local guys to come in as bodyguards, or like, you know, I remember a time where Edge was parodying, being a parody of Ric Flair getting pulled over for drunk driving. And the cop that pulled him over, it was Robbie E. from Impact Wrestling, but he was wrestling locally on the East Coast as Rob Echoes. And he was just like, yeah, man, anything they wanted me to do, absolutely anything they wanted me to do, I was doing, because it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So if they're going to tell somebody, yeah, you're just going to get the snot kicked out of you by Braun Strowman, and be like, yeah, let's do it. Can we do it again tomorrow night?
Yeah.
You know, you may not want to do it tomorrow night. No, let's do it. Sign me up for it. So it was pretty cool.
Well, and you know, James Ellsworth is like the testament of be that guy, and you never know.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, listen, Tony Nese has been that guy for WWE, and Ty Dillinger, I think we talked about, has been that guy.
Absolutely.
You know, Punk was a guy who was brought in as a freaking John Cena clone for a WrestleMania entrance or whatever.
And a Monk.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. Yeah, that's right. So there's a lot of things where WWE reaches out to local independent, you know, companies that they have ties with. All the security guys that you see week in and week out, those are local dudes. You can always find a report that's like, hey, identities of the security guards on Raw this week, and you find out they're local, you know, local wrestlers and stuff like that. Hey, how about this? Speaking of women in NXT again, the debut of Heidi Lovelace.
Yeah, it was good.
It was pretty good, and you know, it's so much better.
I feel like we could have had a little more of it, but it was still good.
It's so much better when you know who the person is coming in, and you can be like, oh my god, that's, you know, that's Gallows and Anderson, you know, when they're attacking the Usos, or hey, that's Heidi Lovelace, or something like that. But then WWE does the spin of like, we've never seen this person before, and then they give them a totally new name and identity and stuff like that. Be like, well, I don't know, Heidi Lovelace worked against Nikki Cross, you know, locally in the United States. Like, we can't say things like that. We've got to say, like, this person has a history with her, or thereafter, who is this person, for like, you know, 20 minutes. But it was pretty cool. She comes in on a House of Fire and stuff like that.
I kept thinking that it was going to be Macy. Is that her name? Macy, the girl that Nikki beat up, the
former Marine Army Air Force woman, whatever.
Macy Estrella, Estrella, that's her name.
I was just going to ask if she ever wrestled as somebody else.
I don't think so. I think they're building her as like she's a new recruit. But I was thinking it was going to be her after Nikki sort of just manhandled her, and even though she got in some offense, and Heidi Lovelace was definitely a pleasant surprise. Even though I want to see more of Macy Estrella, because I thought she did a good job.
I think Macy Estrella has that Santana Garrett it factor. When you see her on TV, you're just like, she's a legit wrestler.
Yes,
you know,
like she looks very legitimate, right? And she's also gorgeous, and like she's star material as long as she, you know, knows how to do what she needs to do.
As long as she doesn't lock up like Eva Marie.
Yeah,
like she has a lot of potential. And let's not forget, like, Nikki Bella was trash. Like, you know, up to like 7 years into her run in WWE, and then like finally, you know, got it,
started taking it seriously,
right? But had the looks to maintain, the, you know, fan following based on that to maintain, and you don't want to objectify the women on the roster. But certainly starting out with one or the other is a good starting point. You can always learn how to wrestle,
sure,
if people are interested in you. And then if you're, if you're a really good wrestler, then people are interested in you as well. So there's like two different factors. And I don't think that works well for the men. But I don't know if many women would like that comparison. Well,
I don't think we realize it,
Yeah,
but I think that's exactly the same thing that happens. I think the men are objectified just as much as the women, but people just don't. People don't. Our culture doesn't think in that way.
Yeah. Obviously, let me flash quickly do a little bit of a speed run here of TNA and Ring of Honor this week. Ring of Honor this week had a little faux pas, so to speak, and again, this goes back to them taping before the pay-per-view airs and then airing it after a pay-per-view airs. At the pay-per-view, the team of the Rebellion, Kenny King, Rhett Titus, Caprice Coleman, Rhett Titus has been injured and Kenny King wrestled on the pay-per-view, came out to the same normal music and video montage, except at one point during the montage, I believe it was Shane Taylor was the guy, and I might be confusing him and his partner, who's no longer with Ring of Honor as far as I know. Shane Taylor was featured on the Videotron as a part of the Rebellion. Now, Shane Taylor wasn't in the ring with Kenny King. Kenny King wasn't with his fellow Rebellion people. He just wrestled the match, a 6-way person match maybe, by himself. But lo and behold, when we watch Ring of Honor TV 2 weeks later, they're beating up on Leo Rush, the Rebellion, and out comes Shane Taylor. Oh no, what is he going to do? Well, we know he's going to do because he was on the Videotron as part of the Rebellion. We know he's going to join the Rebellion right now, and sure enough, he does and joins the Rebellion. And I hope what we're going to talk about in 2 seconds for like 2 seconds ties into this a little bit. So hope that things can get cleaned up like that if rumors are true. But on TNA's side, they've actually brought back Karen Jarrett as a face of Impact, and it's cool that they're keeping Jeff off camera, and little by little they're kind of creating this authority, so to speak. But everyone's in a positive spirit as Impact's moving forward. We're going to make it great again. Blah blah blah. Two things are coming from this. One, Josh Matthews is now evil heel announcer Josh Matthews, and it's as annoying as hell because all him and Jeremy Borash do is yell at each other during the show for 2 hours,
like over matches and stuff too, right?
Yeah, over matches.
Like they're making it about them,
right?
Because that's what wrestling needs to be about, is the commentary.
But Josh Matthews jumped into the ring after he couldn't stand hearing Karen Jarrett enough, and then went on this promo that was actually pretty funny. Like, it was like self-centered, self-absorbed. Like, who the hell do you think you are? I don't care if you're Karen Jarrett. Like, I'm Josh Matthews. I wrestle all over the world. I have a 5-time knockout champion as a wife. It was actually pretty funny. So maybe I'm kind of warming up to Josh Matthews in that role a little bit. But stemming from that was Ethan Carter III, EC3, our buddy, going face-to-face with Karen Jarrett, agreeing with everything she said, and then saying, well, I'm not doing it for the Jarrett name, I'm doing it for my name. And if you don't realize, Ethan Carter III is the storyline nephew of Dixie Carter, who's no longer in charge and removed from the company. So they're actually trying to create a current thing versus prior reigning people in charge. I forget what the word is called. They're going to do Team Carter. Regime, yeah. Team Carter versus Team Jarrett, and they're going to make it all about that instead of making it about all the things in the future. And that's kind of like summary of Impact Wrestling over the last decade or however long they've been around. It's like whenever they do a storyline thing, it's like not really investing the fan. It's just like kind of there. And this is one of those things where I'm not really interested in that, because it's going to make it all about that. Then it's going to make it about the wrestling and the wrestlers, and maybe that works from the ratings dollar-wise, but as a pure wrestling fan, it kind of not working for me. But whatever with that, let's talk about the topic of the week.
But maybe it doesn't work.
But maybe it doesn't work as well, and TNA is off of Impact Wrestling is off of Pop TV, and who knows, they'll be on the web after that. And really quickly on the topic of the week here, because we don't have a lot of time left. Sure. Rumors being circulated that WWE is expressing interest and has been giving offers to the Sinclair Broadcasting Company, the company that owns Ring of Honor Wrestling, including the tape library, having Ring of Honor television be on WWE Network, and then everything else on that is kind of generically opened. Really quick, Duke, if WWE buys Ring of Honor, what is like the best case scenario for a Ring of Honor fan to keep WWE and Ring of Honor separated?
Whew, I don't know. They have a track record of not doing that, but maybe, just maybe, Paul gets involved.
Paul
Triple
Heyman
H.
or Triple
No,
H?
Triple H.
Okay.
And he treats it more like NXT, where it's sort of its own thing. Maybe, 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 and lets people just kind of be who they are, and maybe just a little tweak here and there. Here, let's do this from a, like a production standpoint. This could be better from a this standpoint. This could be better, but you guys just keep doing your thing. People love you. Keep rolling with it.
Have you ever known a business?
So that's the pie in the sky. There's another side of it that I'll get to in a second. So when you want something negative, there's a major negative.
There's a lot of negative. In fact, everything involved in it is negative.
There's a extremely significant negative that I think could it hurts wrestling. Period. It hurts wrestling as an entertainment medium, in my opinion. Anyway, go ahead.
It kind of does, but when ECW fell by the wayside, when WCW fell by the wayside, things start up. Things take that fan interest, the rogue wrestling fan, the anti-WWE guy, the I need alternative wrestling programming guy, always finds the way to make something else relevant. And they've done it with a lot of promotions over the years, whether they've folded or been acquired by WWE. So if this goes under, they may be a case for something like a PWG, CZW kind of thing to then step up and be a little bit better, because of it. Stuff like that. I'm not saying it's a huge blow because, let's be honest, this could be the number 2 company in the United States.
I would say it is.
It's probably not, honestly. But they tour. Impact Wrestling doesn't tour. Impact Wrestling is on TV. Impact Wrestling does more overseas than Ring of Honor does. So, so probably not, but could be, depending on who you ask and their opinions of the 2 companies. I don't have any stats to prove otherwise, other than it's hit or miss, depending on who you ask.
Sure.
But I don't know if I've ever seen a situation where one company has acquired another company and things carried on as is. Certain situations maybe apply when it comes to Facebook buying something, or Google buying something, or whatever. Like the other company,
even Amazon. I mean, Amazon bought Twitch, and
Amazon did buy Twitch. I don't know why I thought Google did when I retracted that. But but then there are certain policies that then come into place thereafter. It's like, all right, run it how you want to run it, and then the higher ups take a step back and be like, all right, well, that really doesn't fit our business model. So these are the changes we want you to make. We like this guy. Push that guy. Don't push that guy anymore. This cheeseburger guy, we don't want him on TV. You know what I mean? And I'm not, I'm just saying that. I'm just, bailing out, dropping names here right now. So that if Ring of Honor is even, if it's left alone except for who owns it, and they say, all right, Gabe and whoever's involved, do your stuff. Do your stuff every week. Well, there's always going to be a suit somewhere that goes, yeah, I like what you do here, but it's your idea, and we kind of don't like that. So here's our idea. But other than that, have a great show, do your thing. And that's kind of like any new boss, any new manager, anybody who comes into a department head where you work that comes in, always has their take and spin on things. So, well, I would hope that that's the best case scenario, is run it as is. It also has a chance not. And then what happens if Ring of Honor makes a star? Like, what happens when Jay Lethal's contract with Ring of Honor ends? And WWE, well, it's not with Ring of Honor, it's with WWE, the contract. So now they're like, okay, well, how about we just move you to NXT? We need you there now. So, all right, forget it, Ring of Honor. Now that comes a bottom feeder for NXT, which is a bottom feeder for, whatever. Or could Ring of Honor be the Performance Center North? Could it be NXT North? You know what I mean? And would we even like that? Would we like that talent being split?
Which you could do. I mean, you could sort of do almost faction-like stuff, as opposed to it being like Raw and SmackDown, where it's just like they're their own entities and they don't really touch each other. it could be more like factions where you have the North versus South type idea. So,
Could
which could maybe be cool, maybe.
Could you really get a fan invested in like one company having 6 different divisions and entities that are all quote unquote separate from each other?
Yeah, I mean it's already bad. That's already a problem. So yeah, you make a good point.
Well, I mean, it's it wasn't a point. It was more of a question because I'm trying to figure out myself if I would enjoy, if WWE owns listen, here's the pro. Ring of Honor stuff gets on the WWE network. All past and present content gets put on the network. So you can watch anything you want, hopefully anything you wanted in the past ever of Ring of Honor on demand anytime you wanted it. That would be awesome. Ring of Honor gets mentions on WWE Network, on WWE programming about this guy's a former Ring of Honor champion, blah, blah, blah. Adam Cole debuts. Hey, there's a former 3-time Ring of Honor champion. Well, why not? We like when they address how many times.
First, well, and they love first ever. So the first ever 3-time Ring of Honor champion.
Right, the only ever.
Yeah, so far.
Right, versus whatever. So, I mean, there are good, there are bads of it. There are just rumors, and certainly more so with Ring of Honor than Impact Wrestling. Those rumors could possibly be true, because I don't think Impact ever wanted to sell to McMahon. I think it just wanted to... I think that was WWE giving them a price, not Impact looking to sell. It was I hear you're looking for a new owner. Here's what we'll pay, but we just want the library.
Well, let me throw out the big negative, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we're out of time. But we're out of time. But the big negative is merch. The fact that the Bucks have their own merch shop, and they just churn out content and like they just make whatever goofy thing they want to make, and people buy the crap out of it, and they make money off of it. You don't do that in WWE. What you do is you wait and wait and wait and wait for them to put some crappy shirt that has nothing to do with your character up on the shop for $20 or $25, and then nobody buys it until it's on sale for half off, and you don't make any money. So yeah, that's a major source of income that just goes away for guys if they stay on. After, if WWE buys Ring of Honor, and that's a major source of income that completely evaporates for guys, because they're not going to let them keep those merch shops. They're not going to let them keep making money outside of WWE doesn't let you keep making money outside of WWE. Period. Unless
you were Blue Pants and brought in and able to do your own thing at NXT events.
I mean, that's the contract that was signed, though.
But
that's like when you're like an on roster person, you don't do that, and that's a significant hit to really your top guys in Ring of Honor.
Your salary is probably, I would suspect, a little bit higher as well. Now the top of the top of the
no control of it.
The top of the top, like the Hardys and the Bucks, are going to be hurt by that. But doing it to a guy like I don't know, Donovan Dijak, it's probably a huge positive, because
he's on his way to WWE anyway.
Well, he's a big body, but I mean, I'm just trying to pull a name out of anywhere that wasn't
top
two in merchandise sellers everywhere they go. You know what I mean? So that's take that for what it's worth. But it's interesting to see, and I don't even know which side I want to happen. I mean, obviously, the part of me loves when stuff happens, when Vince buys WCW and ECW folds, but at the same time, it's like, well, I don't want it to fold. I don't want it to go away. But it's just like, it just creates a buzz in the wrestling atmosphere that has been stale for really so long. And that's why when Impact Wrestling debuted their show 3 weeks ago, or Impact Wrestling show 3 weeks ago under the new regime, was exciting to me, because it puts a mark on the calendar that says this date is now a date where things could change. Like, competition can happen, and something in the wrestling world can be that's just not WWE all day, every day. And I kind of enjoy things like that, even if it's WWE buying something. Because what happens from there?
And there's one thing we didn't even consider, but it popped in my head just now. What happens So if this were to happen, and now, like you said, in a lot of people's mind, it's probably the number 2 guy is off the market now, or is now absorbed into the huge number 1 guy. I think that creates the opportunity for New Japan's North American initiative to get kicked into high gear, because they're making major steps in North America. I mean, really, all they need is like a serious TV deal at some point. And
they were using Ring of Honor for that platform.
Yeah, sure. And I think they become a significant competitor to. They become the number 2. I mean, they're the number 2 in the world, I would say, but they're.
Oh yes,
in a lot of people's mind, at least. I don't know the numbers either.
I would say they're number 2 in the world.
Yeah, but I would definitely see them like really kicking their North American push into overdrive at that point, even though they're taking a lot of steps already. So
if WWE does buy Ring of Honor, they should at the same time be in negotiations with New Japan Pro Wrestling to be their American broadcasting syndicator, where they air their stuff on the WWE network as well. Because New Japan Pro Wrestling is Japan, WWE is United States, and New Japan Pro Wrestling can come to the US, the WWE can go to Japan and draw huge or whatever they do, but they're in their relative countries. It's hard to run something globally and be a force or a contending force in 2 different places, I would imagine. So they might be content to just keep their money where it is.
Yeah, you got a good point.
And then just have a cross promotion where it is. But in fear of that, like, WWE should certainly try to parlay this at the same time to also get New Japan Pro Wrestling programming for their network. If it's not just for the archives, but just their like Access TV show or whatever, and big events, but who knows what's involved in that. It's easier for me to say something like that than it is logistically for other people to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. That's all I had. We'll see, and we'll keep everyone up to date next week if anything else comes up.
Oh man, I don't get to cut you off. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna roll with it.
Oh, we can roll with it.
Oh, we're just gonna be done.
We'll just be done. Yeah, I'm 12 minutes late for my schedule.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. I'm the Duke. He's the Larry. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.